looking for this than that. It shouldn't be more complicated. It should be very simple. So I think this is the way people actually do this, So to gain agreement from staff with different roles, the board and any other stakeholders, so the objective of enterprise is to be defined, then you can actually start your thing. So if you can see the basic, how much of money that is required, how many employees are initially to be considered, what are the incentives that you are giving, what is the first 1 to 2 years plan for you and all. So I'll be telling you in detail about this kind of things. So you have 5 ideas, and the greens and reds and yellows you need to consider. If that plan is there, your resources are there, and the customer requirements and the surveys are done. So which is the low hanging fruit to be considered at this moment, and what would be the impact that you are creating, etc. So you consider some of these parameters to pick those best ideas. Okay, so this is the way you ideated and also selected the ideas. And moving forward with the top ideas, you need to look for different landscapes, market landscapes, and operational understanding, financial implications, what are they and all. So as I told you, those surveys will be really helping for you. And I'm skipping, I'll share these slides also. I mean, you need to ask a lot of questions. There are about 40 questions. I can share it later. So market opportunity, operational feasibility, and financial implications. Today I need monthly 3 lakhs rupees. Okay, 12 into 3, 36 lakhs. Will you be able to invest that much money? You have it, or you will be raising. Or maybe at least, okay, this 1 year I can put only 10 lakh rupees. I won't take salaries, but I'll be using minimalistic resources of some human interventions, maybe 1 or 2 people. Then I can actually depend on some incubator to use less, what you can say, expenses of their infrastructure and consumables or whatever. So the plan should be very good, so that your operational cost for first 1 year is to be well planned, 1 or 2 years, whatever. And again, yeah, I told you already the surveys and all. So these questions, no, I'm not going to repeat each and everything. The demand analysis team is also, of course, when you are actually talk about the attitude and the skills of the team for becoming an entrepreneur, you should be having a very committed team, multi-diverse team, and different competences should be there, and also willingness to adapt to any kind of uncertainties in the company. For example, 1.5 years you waited and no funding is there. So some bad situation, maybe Corona is there or whatever. But whether you are really adapt to that situation and have some more patience to be there, and you need to try to actually admit the mistakes if any wrong things happen there. Okay, and some of the faults happen in the company. Will you be able to actually consider and reiterate the issue or resolve that issue properly or not? So I mean, ups and downs are to be considered, and always self-motivated. These things I put it in the different slides, but again, resources I covered, right? Market, team, resources, and the other base surveys and demands, right? So this I already covered in the previous slides. So flirt with ideas, date with new opportunities, and marry the problems. I think you will be actually, this is a very nice definition, once you are trying to start a business, because, you're the best flirt in case you talk to your friends, colleagues, family members, these are the ideas and what do you think? Get some idea. I mean, then probably do some, those are the, what you can say, exercises. And whenever there is an opportunity, I'll tell you an example. Diagnostics, people are doing malaria, dengue, chikungunya, or maybe normal flu-based or any other HIV, hepatitis C in the healthcare sector. I'm giving an example. But COVID comes, okay. So COVID comes, at least 50% of the diagnostics people, startups at least, they took this opportunity and they started developing diagnostic kits for COVID, and now Omicron based also, because the sequences are available and they just try to diagnose Omicron also. I'll tell you one of our startup, which is actually, virtually incubated with us, but there another company is physically incubated earlier. So that company would able to actually did about $2 to $3 million business in the past 1.5 years. Only COVID, I'm just telling. This way they could able to supply their kits to different states and even outside in India. And even our startups, more than half a dozen of our startups, they actually use the opportunity of COVID and developed some kits. Some are at the validation stage, some are at the ICMR approval stage, not only diagnostics, but also into other areas like therapeutics also, right? So, if you have identified the right problem and opportunity, and your ideas will be actually shining, and they'll be actually helping you to do the best business, right? So I think this slide can be skipped out. I don't want to go in detail because I partially covered in the previous ones. If you can see when you actually talk about the attitude, today's topic, we all have ideas, but some may be putting those ideas on paper or the project form or whatever the way. But you don't need to wait actually if someone is actually putting the money or this thing. At least you can use on an outsourcing basis, or there are means of actually taking help from different organizations to execute your ideas, to generate some data, to demonstrate that this idea is having some worth pursuing, right? So idea is there, execute them boldly and persistently. If you can able to do it with a proper decision making, because as an entrepreneur or wannabe an entrepreneur, the decision making is a one important quality you should be having. So when you have that attitude, generally in the research area, when I was a researcher earlier. Now actually I'm trying to help entrepreneurs, but yes, I focus on marine sponge collagens, the protein, how this can actually help, and tissue engineering, and that's a kind of paper publication, etc. So probably my thought process are very narrow in the sense one particular area, and if I want to actually translate that collagen to apply for cosmetics purposes or any other bone tissue engineering purposes, I may not be working on who are the other players, how they are working, how I can actually tune my research work into that line so that I can bring some kind of tissue engineering scaffold along with this sponge collagen to help medical practitioners or maybe common people. So I think that is the difference. So being an academician also, when you're trying to teach your students or when you're trying to work in your laboratories, you need to have that attitude of how my research interventions are going to create an impact, maybe after 5 years, even after 10 years also. The Nobel laureates, after 10, 15 years of their research, they're getting the prizes and all, but otherwise also they have that attitude, at least, okay, this base invention data is useful to innovate something, then it can be translated into a product or process. So they have that different level of understanding about their research and development. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, you need to actually do those in-depth analysis of what you're doing and what you're going to do. So that's where the tip of the iceberg is something very different to view it. But the entire iceberg under the sea level, under the surface, the girth of the iceberg, I think assessing that, the volume, the depth, whatever. So that is very important. That really matters. So some of the behavioral patterns, someone actually put it, it's a very old paper, but still, if you can see, skills and attributes are very much linked to the intention of the entrepreneur, intended to be the entrepreneur, and opportunities I told you already, and decision making I told you already, and exploitation of the opportunity. I mean, whether okay, this is there, but how best you can actually tweak your particular opportunity to that particular impact creation. So the problem solving skills, creativity, okay, persuasiveness and planning, negotiating, decision making, these are the important parameters of a person to become an entrepreneur. And again, attributes, what kind of attributes? Self confidence, okay, and self reliant and autonomous, right? And achievement oriented, versatility, and he or she should be very dynamic, okay, very dynamic to the opportunities around him or her, and also always resourceful. Actually, one important point in this slide is missing is the networking. I think all of the students, faculty, whoever, the startups, networking is the key that can drive your business, your entrepreneurial journey most efficiently, right? So the proactiveness will actually come there. You have to be very initiative your own self to be proactive so that you can actually explore the things more efficiently and you can innovate more enthusiastically by using that search tools and opportunities, and of course risk taking abilities, because you need to change your, you need to tweak every time, certain issues may be there, certain challenges are there, but you have to be ready. And